This is a trap we've all fallen into one time or another. And what happens when we fall into this trap? We either end up getting taken for granted, the sex is throttled, or we end up getting dumped or friend zoned, or sometimes a combination of all the above. So what can we do to avoid this trap? Let's face it, dating women is filled with sneaky little traps left and right. And perhaps even worse, they're the ones often setting the traps to see how you handle yourself and handle her. Most of you know about shit tests, but there are also jealousy tests, compliance tests, commitment tests, and the list goes on. These tests are actually traps because we're often not aware that we're being tested. In fact, women often don't even realize that they're testing a man, since it's simply just part of their operating system. Now, the flattery trap isn't really a test in and of itself, but women will often push for it either overtly or through manipulation. This is where it becomes a test to see if she has this power over you. However, most women don't have to resort to manipulation or even pushing for the flattery because most men give it freely and often. And those men eventually suffer the consequences. The reason for this are twofold. One, most men are terrified of losing the girl, so they'll lay it on really thick, believing that they're covering all the bases. And the reason for that is number two. They simply just don't understand how women operate. We see it in the movies, we hear it from our friends and family, we even hear it from other women. Women love to be praised and complimented. Why is that? Because it makes them feel special and feminine energy grows from praise. So of course they're going to want to hear it, and of course they're going to push for it. But like I said, this is a trap. That's not to say that you shouldn't praise her ever. Even without a woman pushing for it, when we're in love, we often can't help but to share how wonderful she is directly to her. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of how often you do it and when. There's always a balance with women. Whatever you think is the key to her heart, it's usually somewhere between that and the opposite of that. The problem is only experience will teach you where that balance actually is. But you have to start somewhere. And as I often say, you want to aim for her respect above everything else, because without respect, there is no love or attraction from her. As an example, it's always better to be too much of a jerk than not enough of one. She may not like you very much, but at least she'll respect you. And in the same vein, it's better to be too bold than not enough. And it's best to give her too little praise than too much of it. But that doesn't help too much when it comes to knowing when and how to compliment her properly. Now, I'm Erik Peterson, and I'm a men's dating and relationship coach for Skill of Attraction. And if you need my personal help and you're interested in some private coaching, please head over to my website at soa.fm. Click on the coaching tab, and there you'll see that I have several options for you to choose from. Now, for starters, keep your compliments few and far between. Too many of them, and they'll lose all meaning, and she will begin to see herself as above you. Too little of them, and eventually she'll believe that you don't love her at all. And when you do compliment her and you get a good reaction from that compliment, don't keep going and don't keep repeating the same compliment over and over again. You're going to beat it to death. And as a side note, planning your compliments is a bad way to go. She'll sense its inauthenticity and it'll fall flat. Anytime I've made a woman blush or swoon is when it was just off the top of my head and straight from my heart. I wasn't planning it. But anytime that I've planned something hoping to make her swoon, it was a complete dud, and I ended up feeling stupid. You absolutely never want to praise her from a place of weakness. When most men compliment a woman, it's when they either want to butter her up, either when they're trying to attract her, or when she's giving them a cold shoulder, or she's angry with them. None of these actually work, and women tend to see it as supplication. And this is actually the worst time to compliment or to praise her. So when she's being bitchy, she's being cold and distant, she's withholding sex, or anything similar, Do not shower her with compliments, as most men do in these cases. It will only have the opposite effect of what you're actually going for. Also, be sure that you're inconsistent with how and how often you flatter her. Now, predictability bores women to death, but being unpredictable, and when she least expects it, of course that's unpredictable, but that is surprising and exciting for her. Not only will your flattery hit her the hardest this way, but she'll be anticipating when you're going to give her her next dose of validation. When women are thinking often of you and anticipating your next move, it will just fill her mind with wonder and seductive fantasies. And there's no better way to ignite this than by giving it to her at the least likely times. Now, if you really want to make her feel really good, praise her in front of her friends and family. Now, if you've been following me for a while, then you know that women love attention and they love status. And she'll get a boost of both this way. And she'll most likely reward your well-timed compliment in a very special way later on, if you know what I mean. Now, if you're finding this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And let's make sure that your friends aren't making these same mistakes when it comes to women. Now, you also want to be sure that you don't always aim for the obvious. Sure, she has beautiful eyes and a pretty smile, but most likely she hears that often from other men who are most likely trying to poach her away from you. Instead, compliment the behavior that you like. Perhaps most notably, her feminine behavior. Most men will compliment women on their masculine behavior and then complain that the girl's not feminine enough. Oh, you're so ambitious. Or, I love how assertive you are. Instead, compliment her on how loving and affectionate she is, or how you admire her vulnerability. You could even throw in a few sexual things that she does that make your toes curl, just to encourage her to keep it up. Now, contrasting compliments are great too. This will help to keep her on her toes when it comes to your praise, so she's not expecting the same praise every single time. As an example, instead of telling her how beautiful she looks today, tell her how much you enjoy the connection that you two share before you lean over and whisper into her ear and how hot her ass looks and what you want to do to her in bed later that evening. She'll feel special about the connection compliment, but also a little turned on by your bold sexuality, anticipating the wild evening ahead. Ideally, it's also best that you use descriptive, adjective-filled compliments. Think about how much women prefer, say, erotic literature over viewing porn to get them excited. It's partly because they love to imagine and fantasize and envision it in their minds. Additionally, it's also best that you don't lay on the flattery unless it's earned. If you're going to compliment her feminine strength, don't do it unless she's overcome some sort of adversity. If you're going to compliment her on her beauty, make sure that she's done something special to make herself look beautiful for you. When you give away your praise freely and without any real reason for doing it, you're actually pedestalizing her and giving her the impression that her value is higher than yours. And if you remember, women date up in terms of sexual market value. If you make her believe that her value is higher than yours, this is when she begins to question whether or not she could do better than you. And finally, you want to show her praise versus telling her when you can do it. Giving her, let's say, a little love swat on the butt as she walks by conveys that you find her sexy, or that you love how great her ass looks in those jeans. And as I just mentioned, women enjoy imagining and fantasizing what you meant by that act over you making it logically clear what you actually meant. So you want to show versus tell. Now, if you handle compliments and flattery this way, you should be good, just as long as you don't overdo it. She'll most likely push for more, and you'll most likely think, yeah, sure, why not? What's the big deal? But that's how men find themselves with a woman whose attraction is wavering. Now, if you found this video worthy of a donation, you can find a link to my PayPal or Bitcoin wallet address in the description down below, or simply tap on the Super Thanks icon just below this video. So that's it for this video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.